Well, hello, readers. I'm so excited today because I love these books, this concept. It's so new and different and fresh and so fun to read. But before we jump into the book, let me introduce Gabrielle Meyer, and we are going to be talking about Across the Ages and time travel ish. We'll talk about that. But first of all, welcome. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me. As you said, I'm Gabrielle Meyer, and I am the author of the Timeless series, and book 4, Across the Ages, released November 5th. So, super excited to be here and talking to you. What else would you like to know?
Well, like family or where
Sure,
you live, or you don't
sure,
have to tell us
yeah.
like your address or anything.
Social security number. So
Yeah.
I live in central Minnesota on the banks of the Mississippi River. I am married to my high school sweetheart, and we have 4 children. Our oldest is in her second year of college. My second one is a senior in high school, and then I have twin boys who are 14, and one of them is officially taller than me. So that's brand new.
Okay, first, the twin thing is always fun because we have twins, and one is like they're 21. It's not going to change. One's like 6 inches taller than the other,
Yeah,
but also it's like double the noise, double the everything.
it
I
is.
have one 14-year-old boy right now, and the whole house is upturned. So I
Yeah,
can't imagine two 14-year-old
yeah.
boys.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It was actually kind of funny because one of them was always, always, always taller from day one. And then the other one shot up this year and he's like 4 inches taller than his brother. And it's kind of,
Really?
yeah, it's changed their dynamics. So it'll be interesting to see if that holds true as they turn into young men. So,
Yeah. Oh, so cool. Okay. Talk about this series before we talk in about book 4, Across the Ages, because I've interviewed you before, but I just need to
mhm,
say this. So I don't like reading back cover copy. I don't even like reading like genre because I just try to figure everything out. My mind is trying to figure out all the plot points. And I just want to enjoy a book. And so then I started yours, not even understanding like there's dual times.
mhm.
I was like, what is this? And I'm listening to the audio. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, I love this. I'm like, I've never heard of this. Like, I was so blown away. And so digging into Across the Ages again, I love the concept. So explain it for those who may not be familiar with this
Sure.
series.
So the first book in the series is called When the Day Comes, and it kind of sets up the whole premise for the rest of the series. So the first book is about Libby, and she lives in 1774, Colonial Williamsburg. When she falls asleep there, she wakes up in 1914, New York City. So she has 2 identical bodies, but one conscious mind that goes between them. And on her 21st birthday, she has to choose which life to keep and which one to forfeit. And so that's the premise of the first book. The second book is her daughter. And for reasons that you learn in the first book, her daughter Maggie has 3 timelines. So she's in 1861, 1941, and 2001, all in Washington, D.C. And so she has to choose which of those lives to keep. And she is a medical student in 2001. She is a Navy nurse in 1941. And then she's the daughter of a senator in 1861, wanting to use her medical skills.
Hmm.
And so that's book 2. And then book 3 is Maggie's identical twin daughters. And they go between 1692 during the Salem witch trials and 1912 during the early age of aviation and the Titanic. And so Across the Ages then is book 4. And so I kind of stray off a little bit from the main family line. This is a cousin, and
Okay.
she lives in 1727 and 1927. And what's kind of unique about her story is that she was abandoned by her time crossing mother. So she has no idea why she's a time crosser. She doesn't know any of the rules. And so her story is her quest to find that mother so that she can get some answers about her time crossing. And so we go between the pirate era and prohibition and the gangsters. So,
I mean, the coolest thing about this is you like what areas do I from history do I want to just pull something here
mhm,
and pull something here, which is so fun. And then you see like, okay, for example, Caroline, you see so you have the very controlling, you talk about pirate era, and you
mhm,
had the privateers, and we have Nassau, Bahamas in here, and then you
Mhm.
have Paris, France, and Prohibition, and gangster. There's so many cool things, but the parallels are right at the beginning. I'm like, okay, like both in both places, she's very controlled. They have
Mhm.
certain expectations. She has lots of questions in both places, and
Yep.
so it's super interesting that as opposite as they are, I already love the themes weaving in. I'm
Mhm.
gonna have to use this book with my creative writing students. I teach 25 high schoolers creative writing for homeschool 2 days a week, and I'm going to show them because I'm teaching theme. I'm like, oh, as I'm listening to this is going to be perfect to show how the same theme can cover two places. Okay, rabbit
Yeah.
trailing.
No,
So
it's
tell
great.
us why you picked these two times.
So that's a question I get asked a lot about all of the books is why do I choose the ones I choose? And there's a lot of decisions that go into it. First, I have to, I have to line up the next book with an era that makes sense. So, for instance, the last we saw of her cousins were in 1692, and so it's like, okay, we have to go roughly 20 some years past that so that
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn sorry. So that's part of the reason why I choose the eras that I choose, but specifically 1727 and 1927, I love the idea. So you had said something about the privateers. So the privateers were men who were given a mark from the king to take out their enemy ships. So this was English men who were taking out French and Spanish ships. Well, then after England is no longer at war, all of a sudden all of these men were literally out of a job, and there was this huge treasure galleon that had gone down, or a treasure fleet I should say, that went down on the coast of Florida. And there was like 11 ships that went down with all of this gold, and so all of these privateers just kind of swarmed to Florida to get all of this gold, and that was the birth of pirates as we know them. So something that had been legal was now illegal and became a big problem for the English government and for the American colonies. Fast forward to 1927, and we have Prohibition, which made alcohol illegal in America. And something that had been legal is now illegal and made a huge problem for the American government. So there's a lot of similarities there. So it was kind of fun. Gangsters and pirates,
Yeah.
they're really the same thing, just one is on land and one is at sea. And so Carolyn gets to experience firsthand both sets of problems. So those were kind of the reason why I paired those eras up. Also in 1927, Charles Lindbergh, the aviator, flew across the Atlantic
Mm-hmm.
Ocean. And I'm from his hometown, and I worked at
Oh.
his childhood home for 10 years. So I love Charles Lindbergh history. And so I set Caroline, she lives in Minneapolis in 1927. And so we get to see Charles Lindbergh and the whole aviation theme. And so lots of fun stuff that I was able to put into this book.
And I think there's so many parts, like we hear gangsters and we hear pirates, but we don't understand like what was happening before that, and we don't understand like why things were the way they were. I just had a little pirate novella release, and it was just like because we were in Key West and we go to this
Mhm.
museum, and suddenly you're like, whoa, like
Yeah.
you hear the history behind stuff, and so that's the fun part of like very common themes that are just like in movies and books and stuff, like understanding more behind it. And then also the parallel. Like
Mhm.
anytime the government's like, let's do this thing over here and then let's stop doing this thing, the laws change everything. And what might
Yes.
seem like it is a good thing ends up bringing up consequences that you don't even understand. And so I love how these two different worlds, it's kind of like different but the same when it comes to
Mhm.
that. And then experiencing it from a young woman who both sets, the parents have very strong ideals for her, plans for her life,
Yep.
and she's trying to even figure out who she is. I mean, there's so much conflict right from the beginning that I'm like, okay, there's layers upon layers of things that need to be solved, and then history that you get to discover in the middle of it. I mean, these are like, I love this series. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Thank you. It is easy to create conflict, and people ask me all the time, like, how many of these books are you going to do? And right now we have 7 planned, and I'm actually going to Bethany House tomorrow to talk with my editors and marketing and sales, and we're going
Yeah.
to talk about this. And I could go on and on and on
Yeah.
because it is so easy for me to take 2 different time periods and mesh them up. It causes so much conflict, and there's just, so much push pull that I could keep doing this forever.
Yeah, it is so true because what I mean, you could throw a dart at like a timeline of history, right? You could throw
Mhm.
this dart, and then you're like, how can we make this connect? What are common themes? I mean, it would
Yep.
just be so much fun. I
Yeah.
mean, invite me to your brainstorming session next time because I love giving you ideas, throw you some ideas. But okay, so let's talk about her story. Let's talk about Caroline and just give us little hints of who she is. Is there a love interest? What's going on with that?
Yes. So each story, I want it to be unique from the one before it. And so I've kind of done the love triangle thing. And so this one is less of a love triangle, and it's more about Caroline trying to figure out, first and foremost, where does she belong?
Hmm.
Um, she, like you said, so in 1727, she was raised by her grandfather, and she's looking for her mother who abandoned her as a baby. And her grandfather is pretty much planning on using her to solidify his place in society, to increase his plantation, all of that stuff. And of course, she doesn't want anything to do with the man that he wants her to marry. So she disguises herself as a young man to get onto a ship to try to find her mother in the Bahamas. And she's a cabin boy. She knows nothing about sailing. And then that ship gets taken over by a pirate ship, and she gets basically abducted. And so all of a sudden, she's no longer on her way to the Bahamas. She is at the mercy of Captain Zale, his name is, and then the quartermaster is his son, Marcus. And Marcus becomes a bit of a love interest for her. And
Mm.
Marcus has his own secrets, so it was so much fun to create that character who he has a lot of redemption that he needs to face. So anyway, then the second timeline, I'm trying to think of all the things I want to say, but I can't.
I know it's like,
I know
well,
I
I can't say this and I can't say
could.
this.
No, no,
That's why I'm
yeah,
letting you explain everything.
yes, yes. So then in 1927, she is the daughter of a man who has become world famous for his stance on prohibition, and kind of like a Billy
Mhm.
Sunday character.
Okay,
And
so I was gonna ask you. So as soon as you said
yeah,
a former baseball player, I'm like, is it Billy Sunday? And
yes,
most people don't even know who Billy Sunday is.
yeah.
Like he went around the world and spoke to millions of people and
Hmm.
sharing his testimony, his conversion. It was like, who's the biggest sports figure you can picture now? I mean,
Hmm.
I don't even know. Michael Jordan. I don't, it would be like them on fire and preaching at huge stadiums. So
Yes.
just to put that
Yep.
in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So Billy Sunday's the inspiration, and Billy Sunday had 3 sons who were actually not leading very upstanding lives, and they actually had different women who were blackmailing Billy Sunday and his wife throughout his ministry. And so that kind of inspired. So Caroline has 2 brothers. One of them is a cop who works for the St. Paul Police Department, and it was a very crooked police department. And then
Hmm.
the other one is he has come home from the First World War, kind of broken from that. And he's married with children, but he has given up his job at a bank, and he is now a bootlegger. And so Caroline is trying to keep these things hidden from her father and from the world at large, as her father kind of takes on this international role. And so she has a young man in that timeline too, a childhood friend who works with her brother at the police station. His name is Lewis, and Lewis helps her try to figure some things out too. So,
Oh, so many things. Okay, so this book is like a normal size novel, which
mhm,
shows you, I mean, this is just the beginning. Like she's just barely getting started, explaining some things that are happening. This is like this happens and this happens and this up. And like if you want books that are more fast paced, that are not like fast paced, like they're running through the whole book, but just things are happening, things are moving, decisions are being made. Like this is
mhm.
definitely a book that you're not going to want to put down. I think the first one I don't even know. It was like a day and a half or something. I just listened and listened and listened. Let me just clean out this pantry now, and let me
Right.
do this other thing because it's so fun. So if you love those kind of books, but the character development, the history, like all the things. So I think there's so many varieties of readers. If you like historical fiction,
Mhm.
yes. If you like some little speculative fiction where things are like, why is this happening like this? Yes. If you like some little romantic threads, yes. So there's so many levels, and then again, fast paced, lots of things happening. Yes. So I
Yeah.
love that this series, this book too, just checks all those boxes for so many people,
Mhm.
which is fun. So I would love to hear like feedback,
Yeah.
because I know I, as part of Avid Reads of Christian Fiction, I see probably at least once a week people recommending your series, like read these books. I just finally picked these up. Like people love it. So I'd love to hear some of the feedback.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and especially avid readers. I truly I'm just blown away by their support. I You and I ran into each other at the ACFW conference, and that was what I had to tell you too, because
Yeah.
it's just been amazing to see everybody's excitement and support. The feedback has been fantastic. So I've been getting early reviews of Across the Ages, and it's kind of interesting because I have such devoted fans, and everybody has a different favorite, and then there are those who every new book is their favorite, and I absolutely love that. But I have two readers in particular that they are Instagram influencers, and both of them love book one. And so then when book two and book three came out, they kept saying, oh, I love these two, but book one is my favorite. Well, when this one came out, both of them private messaged me and they said, I have a new favorite. I think book four. I know. I was like,
Wow. Okay. So I gotta finish this book. So wait, because
right.
if I like, my whole house is gonna be so clean now.
So that's always reassuring because I feel like I want to make sure that every book that I write in this series, I'm giving it
Mhm.
150%, that I meet expectations and then exceed them. And so when I hear things like that, it makes me very happy.
Yeah. Okay. So I need to hear some research that you've done too, because the settings are fantastic. So did you do anything fun when it came to research?
Yeah, so I have been in St. Augustine, Florida, and it was actually when I went to St.
Yeah.
Augustine years ago that I first heard about the story um, of Anne Reed, or no, it was Mary Reed and Anne Bonny. So Anne Bonny, she was a pirate who she grew up in South Carolina, and then she left with a merchant and married him. And then when she got down to the Bahamas, she met Calico Black or Black. What is his name? Calico Jack. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. You have a
Sorry.
lot of history in your
I have
head.
so much history in my head. I'm like, what was his name? Anyway, and he actually he purchased a divorce for her from her husband. And then Anne went with him onto the ship, and she dressed as a man, and she met another woman on the ship, Mary Reed, who was also dressed as a man, and they had convinced everybody that they were men, but they knew who each other was, and apparently other people did too, because when they were overtaken, their ship was overtaken, both of them were pregnant. And so so they when they went to trial, um, Mary died in prison, but Anne disappeared from the history
Mm,
books. They have no idea where she went. And so I remember thinking, wow, what an incredible story. I wonder what happened to Anne. And so that is kind of what spurred on the idea for this book, is where did Anne go? And
oh,
so yeah, so that was kind of the bulk, well, not the bulk, but the beginning of the research that I did for this book. Um, the 1927 one, of course, was a lot easier because it's set in Minneapolis, and I live just 100 miles northwest of there. And so I went down there a couple of times and drove through some of the neighborhoods and got inspiration for where I wanted to set the story. And my editor, who is also in the Twin Cities, when she read it, she said that this is my ode to Minnesota book, because there's so much Minnesota in here. We've got the state fair in here. We have Como Park, which is a pretty cool park down in the cities. And yeah, so it's just kind of fun to be able to put a little bit of my local history
mhm.
into this as well.
Yeah, and I love St. Augustine, the fort. Did you go to the fort while you were
I
there?
did. Yeah.
And it has like still scratched into the walls, like someone scratching like a ship, and then they scratched in their
Mhm.
initials, and then they like it's so cool because it was the first settlement.
Yep.
And it's made out of seashells. It was just amazing. I mean,
Yeah. And
the
it's old. It's
mortar,
like
yeah, it's old.
1515, I think, or something crazy like
Yeah.
that. It's old.
And
So,
so
yeah.
I've been there 3 times in, like, in the last year and a half because it just happens I keep ending up in St. Augustine, so I'm like, "I don't
Oh,
mind at
cute,
all."
huh?
I love it. I know.
Yeah.
And I love it. And just the pirate, I think we're so fascinated by the pirates. And then when you hear some of these stories,
Mhm.
and like people disappearing, or when you all the sunken ships that are still lost, they're still
Mhm.
discovering
Yep.
things all the time.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
mean, it's just amazing. And it's so fun because of course everything Pirates of the Caribbean comes to mind.
Mhm.
And there is characters just as just as lively as Jack Sparrow when it comes to the real life people, like you were saying, like
Yeah.
these women, they were dressed as men and all the
Yeah.
things. Yeah,
And
so
these
fascinating.
and these people who like Blackbeard, I mean, some of them were only active for like 2 or 3 years, but they captured the imagination of the world because they lived such crazy lives. So it was a lot of fun to kind
Ah,
of explore that time period and learn more about them.
I love it. Okay, so this is book 4.
Yes.
And then book 3 released, was it in spring that it
In
released?
May. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So when does book 5 come out?
So book five releases next May, so it'll be May and November of every year. And book five, I kind of go back to the family line that I started with, and I will connect all of this in book 6. So
I like your mind is like, do you have like a chart
I
or
don't
something?
know. I don't. I did create a family tree because a lot of people were asking me for this tree to kind of figure out how does Caroline fit into this family tree. So I have that on my social media and my website. But so book five, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. My my daughter is so funny. She's like, "Mom, when you talk about this, you act like you're one of your readers who's excited." And I said, "I feel like it." So book 5 is, her name's Catherine. I won't give any last names away in case somebody
Yeah.
figures out who her parents are. But what's different about her timeline is she has only 50 years between it. So she lives in 1888 and 1938. And in 1938, she works at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., and she gets invited to the London Museum to put together an exhibit on Jack the Ripper because it's been
Oh,
exactly 50 years since his
I
reign.
like got goosebumps when you just said that. It's scary.
Yeah, and she finds out this is right away at the beginning, so it's not a spoiler. She finds out right away that her sister from 1888, who has been missing, will become the last victim of Jack the Ripper. So she has only like 2 months to try to figure out who Jack the Ripper is. And because part of the time crossing rules is that they cannot knowingly change history without forfeiting the timeline that they change, she has to, like, of course she's going to save her sister, but she has to try to figure out, like, can she save her sister and get the man she loves at the same time. So
Okay, wait. So we already have the history. We already have the time travel. We already have some romance. Now we have a mystery that she has to
yes,
solve. Because
yes.
you're like, because I'm not giving my readers enough.
I know.
So here,
Here's a Victorian time sleuthing novel to kind of put into this series. And that's another thing, my editor, she's like, every one of these books is so different and kind of hits on all of those different genres. So
hmm.
hopefully we can appeal to, everybody with
Oh, I
these.
think absolutely. Like I write in the different genres, but I like have a book over here and a
Yeah.
book over here. You're like, let's all put them in one book.
Together. Yeah. So
But you're successful. Like that would be another thing if you like tried to do this and it was like, oh, that did not work. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm so super excited every time I see your books. I'm like, yay! So, yeah. So I love it. I love that. Again, you're like, let's go to the next level. Okay, after that, are you working on that? Do you
Yeah.
know? Look at your eyes are like, okay, if you're only listening to the audio, you need to go watch the video on YouTube because she's like,
Yeah, so I just finished book 6, and that one takes us between the Gilded Age in Newport, Rhode Island in 1883 to the Elizabethan court in 1563. I know,
wait,
it's so
wait,
exciting.
wait, wait.
Yes. So I have a male and female point of view in that book because they're siblings. And so one is
Okay,
telling one,
is this the
this is
first
the
male
first
point of
male.
view?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so and this will answer a lot of people's questions about a lot of things. So I've been kind of planting little Easter eggs throughout each of these books, and book 6 is going to like kind of bring everything full circle. So and it's so hard not, I can't
I
say.
know. The dollar was to say, like,
I
don't
won't.
even like say
Yes, I
anything
won't.
because,
I
like,
won't.
I'm just trying to like, I have to finish. I have to finish this one, and I'm already excited about the next one. So, like, don't even give me a hint
Nope.
because that's a year from
Yep.
now, and
Yeah.
don't leave me like hanging for a year.
Nope. And then book 7, I am starting to research for that one, and I'm calling that one my golden book because it will be set during the gold rush in 1849 and the golden age
Mm.
of Hollywood in 1929. So, and
Okay,
both will be set
so
in
fun,
California. Yeah.
so fun. Oh my goodness, yeah. And then you're gonna go talk to the editors, and you're gonna
We're gonna,
like,
yeah. Because I have another idea for another series, and we're going to try to stay with that, just a light hint of magical realism. But I will keep writing these books as long as readers want to read them, and everybody keeps telling me that they will read as many as I write. So it's just a matter
yeah.
of trying to figure out, which way do we go from here.
And that's a pretty quick pace.
It is,
Because I
yeah.
know you do some other things. Are you still doing other things too?
No, at this
This
point,
is it, yeah.
I'm just focusing on these. They really do take up a lot of time to
Well,
research
yeah, I was
and
gonna say, and
thinking.
that's a quick pace to a year is
Yeah,
a quick
yeah.
pace for complicated, long, dual timeline
Hmm.
books. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that keeps you busy. Yeah, okay, I'm so excited. Okay, where can people go find them? And I know they're on audio. They're,
Hmm.
of course, Kindle or ebooks. They're on paperback. Like, where can they go find all the books?
Yep.
And then tell us where to connect with you on social
Sure.
media.
So you can go to gabriellemeyer.com, and that will have all of my books, and then it will have where they're all available. And my social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram far too much because I love it. I love connecting with readers. That's
Yeah.
honestly, I'm an extrovert. And so for me to connect with readers is like my favorite part of the whole thing. So, and yeah, they're available paperback, ebook, pretty much wherever you can find books. And pre-orders, if you, I'm not sure when this will air, but if you pre-order Baker Book House before November 5th, you can get 40% off and free shipping. And if you missed that for this book, the next one, book 5, is already up. It's called Every Hour Until
Did
Then,
did they
and
already have
that's
the
already,
cover up?
yep. So I revealed the cover last week, and it's
Woo!
ready for pre-order. So
Yay! I love that. And I love how they do that. 40% off every
free
book.
shipping, yep.
Free
And
shipping
then
for pre-order.
while supplies last, I do send out signed book plates and bookmarks, and then I have a fun sticker that I made. It says "Certified Time Crosser," and so that'll go
Ah!
on. It's really cute.
I love it.
Yeah, so I signed 1,000 book plates for this one the other day. So that one
And your
went out.
hand was hurting
Yeah,
after
I
that.
did over the chunks over several days. So, yeah, we've just been blown away by the reception of these books and everybody's excitement. So I
Yeah.
want to try to honor that and do, give as much as I can back to everybody.
I love it. Well, I am a big fan.
Mhm.
Love these so much, and I cannot wait to hear more. Oh my goodness, we have to wait till May. Okay, I'm gonna have to calm myself down. but thank you so much for being here, and we'll put all those links to everything in the show notes.
Perfect. Thank you so much.